Welcome everybody back to... Now, I normally would say the name, but while I am blessed here with two Portuguese speakers, Brazilian Portuguese speakers, I'm actually going to get you guys to say it because you guys will have way better pronunciations than me. Specifically, I'll get one from both of you, but 404, I'm going to come to you first because our good friend Silas, friend of the show, friend of the broadcast, was really enjoying your interview voice in Brazilian recently. I believe he said that you had what was the term that he used? It was quite explicit.
Yeah, there was
voz aveludada, velvety voice.
Oh, velvety voice,
is the
velvety.
So why don't you give us a bit of velvet?
Bad.
You know,
and I feel bad because he DM'd me on Discord out of no, like, well, not out of nowhere because of that, and I forgot to respond. I didn't mark it as unread. He just goes, "Bro, why is your voice so hot in Portuguese?" And I'm like, I wouldn't describe it that way because if you think American accents are hot and like screwing up syntax and verb tense on a regular basis is hot, yeah, I guess so. If that's your thing, hey.
He was a little out of pocket yesterday, I'll be honest. But okay, give us your finest Gringos to start us off.
Oh my god. Gringos Liberados.
Oof, that's the velvet right there. It feels good. Sophchan as well.
I can see it. Yeah, I can sense
right?
it.
You can feel it. Sophchan, why don't you give us one as well, as the actual full native experience.
Yeah.
Bem-vindos ao Gringos Liberados.
There we go. Look at that. Okay, we're fully naturalized now. Okay, with that achieved, let's talk about some Brazilian League of Legends, everybody. Let's talk about some CBLOL. So we have, again, some very exciting results to go over, some very interesting developments, and I'm going to quickly palm us over just so any viewers can see the state of the league right now, which is, we're getting a bit of definition, but we've had some very exciting results coming out here, okay? I'm just going to scroll up here, and let's run down the teams one by one. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to get some reads on them. Would you guys like to go from the top or the bottom to start us off? Any preference?
Ooh. We could do bottom. I think that's more exciting.
Yeah, let's start from the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with INTZ. Now, the problems I had before were with the solo lanes mainly, right? INTZ and Tay, I wasn't sure if they were able to stand up. We loved what Yampi, Ninja Kiwi, and Damage were putting together. Have we seen any more to change that, or are we still kind of a little worried here? Because they are 1 and 3, and we had that big loss, that big red upset, but we've not seen anything kind of else apart from that. So Sophchan, in terms of INTZ, are we feeling like the Giant is well and truly asleep again, or is there still some room to get some damage done?
I wouldn't say it's completely asleep. I think it might be having a nappy nap.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Solo lanes have been a little bit lethargic, especially when we saw INTZ against Tuquid on the Azir for VKS. Things really get like very rampant in regards to performance. So I would say they still can grow, but it might be taking them a little bit longer than they would have anticipated, considering that we're already getting into week 3.
Yeah.
So they have room, but things are not looking like super top 6 into playoffs kind of stage.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton more to add there. Because we probably gotta, if we want to keep this segment actually under 30 minutes, we got to go 3 minutes per team, and that is going to be just impossibly difficult. I will say this: I have to eat a lot of crow because I put out a little tier list, and I put INTZ in the playoff lock tier. Woof.
Locked.
That was a mistake.
I mean,
in hindsight, I shouldn't have used playoff lock in any thing that I put out after week 1. So honestly, that was on me. I should have just said probably playoff or something.
Maybe.
But the engagement bait worked. I felt so good to get those numbers, man.
Yeah, you did get some very juicy numbers on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I gotta eat some crow on that. There's one guy literally in my DMs who's a Los fan, and every time Los do something remotely interesting, which I gotta give them props as well. They've been the positive surprise.
So fair play.
So they every time he sent me one. He just sent me INTZ and then this emoji, like the like pinching together.
The tiny.
Wow.
Yeah, the too small emoji, and I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Like
okay.
you got
fair
me.
enough.
Yeah, I think I mean, playoffs lock is really is that like 4th to 6th or kind of 5th, 6th? Is that what your playoffs lock means, or is that like they're finishing minimum like we're looking 3rd, 4th, where you know?
I guess what I meant by playoff lock was like I had like a clear top 5 in my head, and INTZ was that 5th team. Sure. And then everything else I put like battling for 6th, and that I think again this was last week I put Cade Stars, Liberty, and Cade Stars, Los, and Furia. That's what I did.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I think there's definitely still room for INTZ to make it into playoffs, right? We are still a top 6 playoffs region, I believe. So they are going to have to beat out the likes of Liberty and Los Grandes, who we'll come to, and we're going to come to them surprisingly late. You know, they've gone quite far up the table here. Normally we'd be getting them out the way quite quickly, but not so. But yeah, I think INTZ, once again, they still have these like strong carries they can play through, but we really need to see the last pieces be improved or fit together better, because I think right now they just don't have the firepower in those solo lanes, and we have so much firepower in those solo lanes now. Like, everyone's got a Poggers 80 carry, that's fine, but even the top and the mid are now getting a bit crowded, honestly, for talent, which we love to see. But let's take a look at FURIA, also 1 and 3. Now, this is one I think that also people were generally quite excited about, because they kept that core of mid and bot lane, and this project felt like they were making a good step forward. We were excited about Mir particularly. I know a lot of our NA talent were excited about Mir coming through from NACL, and then Destroy coming from the TCL. That's a proven formula with players like ZZK. Now, I know RMC is still pretty happy about them, is still excited about where Mir is going, and we saw the first really good game from Destroy, certainly. They didn't win that game, but it was against Loud, so we can't get too mad about that, I think. So 4-4 coming to you first instead. Does FURIA have any more, you know, are we still confidently playoffs locked here, despite them also being 1 and 3?
No, but I do think that the 1 and 3 is a bit of a false position, because they literally played Loud and Pain. And so those are kind of scheduled losses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can't also be in week 1, their first game. They also dropped that game to Fluxo, right? That cannot happen. And then Liberty stealing a win from Pain, that also is really hurting your chances, because for every time we took care of business against Liberty, you know, we lost our games against 2 of maybe the 2 best teams in Brazil. Yeah, that's not going to be very good. But I agree. I think it's going to take a little while for the Koreans to gel, and I think part of what was the fun of that roster in last year for FURIA was that it was 5 Brazilians, right? And you could see that clearly they gelled really quickly, right? And that bot lane is still a superstar bot lane. What IU and Zai are doing is to be applauded. But I think I still have hope for them. I think they absolutely still could make playoffs, but I don't see them rising any higher than 5th. I think that's kind of their ceiling. But I've got some faith. Like you said, we saw positives from Destroy. I still haven't been. I want Mir to come good. I haven't been super impressed by him yet, but we did see good from Destroy, like you were saying. Yeah, I think they're going to be okay, but okay still might not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, we were so close, I think, at the end of last split to seeing more out of them. We just maybe it felt like we ran out of time last split. But
it's true.
We've had to take a step back or two because of this new top side, so they have to rebuild a little bit. But I do feel like the ceiling is still probably a little higher. I don't know if you agree with that, Soph.
I totally agree with you both. I think considering the synergy that we already have with the premium bot lane you mentioned there with Zai and IU, you at the same time feel the team a little disconnected with the jungler and the top laner, considering they are just coming in from Korea, imports, destroy Mir, and it feels like there are 2 games being played in Summoner's Rift. You got one strategy on one side, the other strategy that doesn't really match up with what's going to be played. Sometimes even the decision making, like the fast decision making, do we actually go in here or do we give up an objective, a dive? And it takes that little bit of a second on the reaction time that makes things super different. So I think we saw the likes of Mir going for dives and being more aggressive than sometimes the bot lane would follow, and so on. It kind of takes out the premium stage that we could have from getting to that ceiling. But getting into playoffs, it would have to be like on the lower side of 5th, 6th place. I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree that there is a bit of a disconnect there. I think I said it on the broadcast that it seems like we've shifted from like Tuts as the leader to now Mir and maybe Zai are the leaders in game. But yeah, Zai and Mir maybe aren't quite on the same page. And I think the main disappointment for me, honestly, is I feel like Tuts has really suffered over the offseason, and with this new shift, I feel like he is really struggling more than I expected, because he was like, we were remembering why Tuts was a top mid laner, you know, looking back to the 2020 year and last
CBLOL champion.
Yeah, exactly, right? And
Yeah.
At the end of 2023, I think I was ready to count him among maybe top 3. Like, obviously, we were starting to get more stacked in there, but like, I'd put him above Grevthar, I'd put him above many of our mids. And now it seems like we've stepped back a little bit there, and I don't know if this new role is just not gelling for him as well. And that will take some time for him to reassess, because we know that he's like a great player in there. We just know this is to be the case. And hopefully we will see that return, and that will kind of plug this gap in the mid lane, and then we'll definitely have that ceiling to reach for FURIA. So yeah, 1 and 3, maybe a bit of a bait. They certainly almost took a game from Loud. They were mid-inhib down, knocking on Nexus towers before it started to go a little bit wrong. So we'll see if they can capitalize and get that momentum going. Now for Fluxo, if we look forward there, they're in quote-unquote 8th, but I kind of feel like they're actually in 10th, if you know what I mean. I think this is the team that I would probably expect to wind up at the bottom at this point, because we are still struggling to see more from them. They took a game of FURIA at the start, but I think their losses have shown us a little less, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think so too.
No, you guys.
No worries. I think personally, what we saw in that game from Fluxo versus FURIA, that we kind of felt, well, this is a breath of fresh air. Fu really is taking the team into a new step, having that Akali popping off. But that is just one thing that you have to be skeptical about. When one player plays Akali, like plays an assassin, a Zed, or something along those lines, and they pop off, it's just so unreliable. You are not going to have the same sort of scenario again where the assassin is going to be the key component to a win, hence why it hasn't happened again. I know they've changed the champions, but it kind of translates into what is the play style that Fu is bringing to the table that I don't think is very sustainable in competitive altogether and in the team where they find themselves. So the rest of the composition, the rest of the roster kind of doesn't really deliver what is supposed to be delivered in a team that wants to be incredibly aggressive with an assassin like Fu. It is just not sustainable.
Yeah. It's not like a reliable formula for a win. It's kind of the same reason that I think we saw a lot of early success from Liberty last split, but then we couldn't really turn that into anything, or we couldn't rely on everyone popping off all the time. I did like Fu's Talia game that was recent. He like played a bit more of a mage into Kui's Azir and was doing okay early on, was playing those early fights pretty well, but ultimately we couldn't translate that into a win, right? VKS was still able to come out on top in that last game, so we're certainly missing something. For I don't know if you have an idea of what that is, or if it is just young players we're just not able to operate on the same level.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think, look, these 5 players have never played together. I think that, like Soph said, that is a good point, is like, man, like, what a game from Fu. And it's like, yeah, that's true. You can't take that Akali game away from him. But like you said, you worry, I think Soph nailed it, is that you don't know how sustainable that is, right? You don't know how often you can replicate that. But I think what is encouraging is that in the mid lane and in the top lane with Chiari, he also, I thought, had a good game, is that you've got 2 dudes. I've always been a Chiari truther. You've got 2 guys that can, in the right circumstances, carry you games. That's never a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. I was super skeptical of Chiari coming in. I've quite liked his start. Obviously, they're 1 and 3, and we kind of think that maybe the weakest team right now. But I was looking for more from Chiari, and I'm starting to see it, honestly. We have seen some strong lanes from him and some good team fighting. Admittedly, once again on a roster, he was on Liberty before, and now he's on Fluxo. He's not had the best environment to actually get wins on the board, but I think he is still performing well. So I'm ready to maybe recant on Chiari a little bit if we continue to see more from him. Now we're gonna hit very swiftly, by the way that Leaguepedia has decided to order them, into Red Canids, into the Red are winning the split hit from 404. Now we're 2-2 here. How are we feeling about this one? Because I once again feel like 2-2 is maybe a bit of a bait, but 4-4, is the faith shaking on Red Canids, or are we looking for more already?
The faith is shaking, but I don't know, man. I love Frosty, and even this is even like a JoJo or Frosty thing. 5-man roster. Man, I just think everybody performs better when you're not constantly fearing for your job. And
Yeah.
a team that has played before and has won together before.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole thing, right? You didn't bring back just JoJo. You brought back JoJo and Grevthar and Aegis, retained him, right? Like you brought back as many pieces as you could have conceivably from that roster, right? The only guy you didn't get back was Gigo. So I think stick to a 5-man roster. Look, these people have forgotten, the people that are in charge of Red have forgotten more about League of Legends than I know. But like I think, yeah, I haven't been stoked by what I've seen. But look, again, KaBuM, I think if they round into form, they could be one of the best teams in Brazil. I think they are right now one of the best teams in Brazil. Malrang played out of his mind. And so again, no shame in losing to KaBuM on paper. 2-2, it's a little right? We thought that INTZ loss might look better than it has. I don't know. This week they've got Kate Stars and Fluxo. Got to go 2-0 this week.
I think I expect them to. I really think they do need to go 2-0 to get it back on track for sure. Yeah, like losing to KaBuM in that game, wouldn't begrudge anybody losing to KaBuM in that game. But I liked the way that Red were drafting. I like the idea, except the fact that we're drafting Senna again for JoJo, and then we're just giving Bronze Seraphine, and we're I don't know what the point is. I guess. I don't know.
No, that's not it. That's not it. Like that's a great combo. I've seen like that is a lethal, stupid little combo, but that does not play into their strengths.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Right? JoJo, you got to Nautilus, Rakan, Leona, put him on engage, let him flank. That's what he's always been strongest at. Dominate the lane, right? You don't play Senna Seraphine to dominate the lane.
I was very confused. And the 6-man roster doesn't seem to
be me too.
Right.
No.
Yeah, and the playstyle just doesn't make sense. Like you want Branson something that really takes skills and stays out on top and gets control over the wave, and then what can you do with the Seraphine, right? There's no pressure on it. You're gonna be utilitarian, you're gonna be playing 4 team fights, Drake mid-game. It doesn't really connect with how the players want to play, which is kind of what we mentioned for Fu recently, right there.
Yeah. So I think the top side is still good. I think FMB and Aegis are still doing their thing. I think Grevthar has slotted back in very well. I've been very happy about that because we saw him on VKS and because I think Grevthar he peaked kind of at the end of his previous Red tenure, and then he went around the houses a bit and was still very kind of good, maybe a bit underrated, but in a little bit less of a stable environment. And now he's back on Red into the stable environment. I think he is showing that, like, he is still up there. He's still very, very good. He's a very good playmaker and a very good enabling playmaker, enabling mid laner that can set up his just, like, array of carries that he has to play towards in top jungle and bot lane now. So I love the Grevthar pickup, and I think that piece is really fitting well. We just need to get bot lane back up to the level they were at on Fluxo. We need to keep them up there. And then I think... top lane's actually fine. I actually have no notes for FMB and Aegis. I think they're killing it. So, and yeah, that's the loss against KaBuM was tough. The loss against INTZ was kind of a bit of a Brazil moment. And yeah, I agree. We need to see a 2-0 now to reaffirm the Red hopium for a potential championship contender. As we step forward onto, is that actually 5th? Do we actually have, or is that 6th? Not even Pain 5th, the meme that we set up from the pre-season episode. Currently Pain 6th, also 2-2. And now this is one that I have enjoyed the way that it's gone wrong, because it's the way I thought it would go wrong. But it really looked like Weiser was doing a lot of legwork in the first few games to cover for lackings across the map. And finally... someone was able to cut Weiser's legs out from under him, and Pain lost to Liberty. So, how are we feeling about Pain right now? So, are we like happy with the grandfathers right now? Or are we like throwing the alarm switches after that Liberty loss?
No, we're throwing the alarm. It's like guards up, red alert. I think. I watched that game and they said there's no right for Liberty to win this. Like. At all, but they didn't. It was very well done. We can get to that when we're talking about Liberty in a couple of games, in a couple of teams. But I feel like I totally agree with you that Weiser was just really carrying the stable, and then the team wasn't connecting on the plays as they have been. And considering they're always runner-ups, they're always the second place. We always expect them to be not just on playoffs, but very high on the playoffs for top 6, potentially top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
I don't think they really delivered it. And it feels a little disconnected still on what they're doing, considering they changed the bot lane. Of course, you still have Dinkedo. I think Dinkedo is one of the, alongside the jungle and top, that 3 is still works out wonders. But again, when you change something that is just one side of the map and you leave the bot lane a little bit, I'm not going to say unattended, but kind of to his own resources, it doesn't really connect as well as it has been. So maybe they just need this week to get everything going and look at this loss to Liberty and be like, yeah, that was the one thing that we couldn't have done. Now we don't make any more mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the margin for error is now significantly smaller. I'd be shocked if we saw a wiser Kale again. I think that's kind of the big takeaway for me for that one. Yeah, I think that game for me, I want to, I want to celebrate Liberty more than I want to dunk on Pain. I think they're going to be okay, right? Los Grandes and KaBuM next though. Got to beat Los. No shame if you lose to KaBuM, really.
Right
but
now.
Again,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, not right now, right? In the playoffs, let's see, right? But I think broadly speaking, they're gonna be just fine. I think Titans still, right? Like that's what I've been happy with is like, look, at the end of the day, when you need a superstar AD carry, you give a guy the ball and say, go get me a bucket. Titan can still do that. And in that loss, he still made some really good plays. Even Weiser playing from really behind, I thought played all right considering, but it just that game was an absolute crap show. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a wild ride for sure. And yeah, I think we're seeing improvement from Titan and Curry, where they were very obviously an issue before. They are now doing better through the lane. They're surviving more, and Titan is a little bit better geared up to do some Titan things later on. And we saw that, with the Callista in that Liberty game. But we can't always rely on this top side now. We can't always rely it to be uncrackable when you get cracked by an academy promotion. Like, not to undersell Makes. The guy's clearly a bit of a legend in the making, but this Kale answer that you said is the theory isn't quite right there, and as an entire team, where the bot lane's not ready to pick up the slack yet. They're not generating their own problems, but they're not ready to be a reliable second win condition in the way that like Root and Redbird or Root and Sales in the past were for Loud when similar things would happen in their top side. So yeah, Pain's still putting it together. They are still improving overall, I think, and Wiser Karaoke indicated they're going to show up later. We know they're going to get there, and I just hope the bot lane can too, so we don't actually have RMC, just entering
crying in the corner,
literally crying in the club if Pain doesn't make a good showing at least. So moving on to Los Grandes. Now this is one we can start to get a bit positive again, because Los Grandes, I think, they had maybe the most dominant win we've seen of anyone so far in 2024 in the CBLOL. They absolutely whopped, I believe it was INTZ. Just completely cleaned them out. 20-something kills to 3. Like, a huge performance from them. And a very confident draft style, right? First pick and rumble for SuperCleber. He goes wild. C's is still doing well. Envy slotting in as a very good kind of all-purpose mid. And then their bot lane as well is something that I am now watching with both eyes very closely. Solari's Cabby Goat call is really paying off, and quicker than I think we all thought they would.
Yep. No real notes for me. I think you nailed it, Cabby. If there's one thing I got to eat crow about, again, it's not that I didn't think Cabby could be this. I know he came very highly regarded. When I did my little preseason tier list, I put him, I think it's in like as the 6th best support, just because not that's where I thought he would land. It's just like
I don't
know. For every
put him higher.
You have no idea. Yeah. You have no idea with Koreans coming into Brazil. They could be, they could be shrimp. They could be curry. They could be,
Trick.
Any number of terrible. They could be trick. Exactly. They could be gone into it. You just don't know how they're gonna dress. So like, I'm not like, I'm a little surprised. I didn't expect it to be this good, this quick.
Yeah.
No, Cabby, that dude can ball. I've been very impressed with him.
I think what speaks the most to me is probably how Los Grandes is doing with the coaching. Because if I'm not mistaken, Los Grandes, I forgot who's coaching them now, but it really speaks to whoever is organizing them, that they know exactly how to do it. Oh, it's John Ray, so it's former Pain.
Yes.
It's former Pain. You know, like Jeonrae is doing an incredible job to really make these guys blend and gel together. And it's working wonders because we, as you pointed out, Trajan, like every lane and every player there is doing a great job on their own. But when they actually have to go in and do stuff together and organize and coordinate, it's delivering. It really is. And that speaks to how much they probably had been practicing together and the direction that Jeonrae has put them.
Yeah.
It's years of experience with Pain that really has got them there. I love that for Los Grandes.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, they've got a chance to take. Jeonrae has a chance to take down his former team. First game against Pain.
Oh yeah.
Let's
go. It's gonna be spicy.
Yeah, Pain on the back foot, and then a surging Los Grandes can come up and just sweep the other leg. Yeah, just do it to him, man. That would be fun. Spicy. And I think this Los Grandes roster, I think, is the most like 5 completely unrelated elements of any team that's been crafted. It's a lot of times when you see that happen, it's meant to be a super team, right? It's meant to be like we've got the 5 best things we could find, and we're crushing them together, and we hope that we've done something good, and they often haven't. But this one is a lot of kind of, it's a bit of a Moneyball kind of vibe. It's like we've found a lot of kind of underrated unknowns that we've dragged together. Like we've had an academy winning top laner, C's a Korean jungler that no one's really heard of, right? Envy, this very known, very reliable, but not really ultimately successful mid laner. And then Cello, someone we saw before in the Netshoes minors. And then going back down to Academy, he's been quietly building up from them. And then KaBuM from the Ultra Liga, you know, or from like Korea via the Ultra Liga, this very strange kind of holiday path that he's taking through around the globe. And then Jeonrae on coach. It's just 6 random elements here, but it's come together really, 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 really well. And that I think is very exciting, that we can, you know, build something new. It's not just shuffling old elements around and they're all still kind of good. We've built something completely new here and it's performing very well. So I hope that they continue to grow and I hope we don't see this being kind of figured out. And we'll also hope that Soph's lights turn back on at some point.
Jesus.
We'll live and pray as Brazil is trying to take her down, but has failed.
Good God. I am a little shadowy, but I'm here.
You got mortalted. You are coming.
Yes, actually, literally Brazil mortalted live on broadcast.
Exactly.
Dear me.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Save me, guys, please.
Jeez. Right. So, Los Grandes looking good. Potentially looking for more up there. And now we get to move on to another exciting prospect. Liberty, the Pain Slayers themselves. Now, with this roster, I didn't have much hope for it. And after the first week, I still didn't have much hope for it. But they had that one kind of exciting win that they picked up. So they weren't going for the 0-16 kind of, it just, when the season gets so bad, you're in a funk and you can't get out of it kind of style. And that seems to have worked, right? They're playing with the confidence of a team that does not have the record of Liberty's organization, you know? And I love that for them. So besides the obvious overperformance of Makes that we'll touch on a little bit more later, is there anything else that you guys want to touch on from Liberty that you think is performing particularly well to kind of build this strong platform?
For sure. I think I would touch on the same subject that we did with Jeonrae being the coach now for Los Grandes. We have the same thing for Liberty, having Turtle and Belzy.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, he's like the sub-coach.
Positional coach.
He was
former Fluxo.
Former
Loud. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, excuse me, that is like a recipe for success. So I think there's a kind of a similarity in between what we talked about Los Grandes just now, but there's one big difference. When you have completely unrelated key pieces for Los Grandes, I think Liberty has gone for key classic traditional Brazilian pieces. They have Micão, they have Cavalo, they have Biloto. So they're bringing people that have always been like celebrities in League of Legends for Brazil. So you're bringing them together because the same way you had a good eye for it and thinking these players could work well, and then you get Makes. Absolutely diamond in the rough, diamond shining so bright, you get pain out of the table in a way that you would never expect. So these keys are looking very cohesive, but coming from a different background than Los Grandes did, but with the same commonality of having very experienced and successful coaches.
Yeah, I think I love the pieces that they have chosen to take. I think, again, the bot lane is improving. Like, we have so many strong bot lanes, and this one definitely suffered a little bit, but the last game, I think they still died a lot in that Pain game, but they were the only targets that were going to die. I think it was less their fault, and they did better in that game than previously, right? It didn't look like they were lost. I think there were problems with the draft and the matchup they were playing that made it hard to play for them. The rest of the team was ready to cover, right? And it definitely wasn't... It wasn't a super clean win over Pain, right? They didn't stomp Pain. They didn't look like we're the conclusively better team from A to B from start to finish. They clutched it out, ultimately. And really Makes, in big ways, clutched it out. But that is great to see the resilience there, especially for this bot lane when they are suffering, when they are struggling. They're still able to pull it together. And they have this young talent in the top side and then the experience in the mid and bot to round it out. So, yeah, I think I'd still put them below Los Grandes in terms of potential for now, because I'm still not convinced by bot. But I think, you know, they've shown that if you sleep on them and if you ignore them and if you leave them a window, if you don't do all of your due diligence in a team fight, they're not going to let you get away with it, which is good, because we need that. We need people to not be allowed to get away with things in Brazil. That's how we all get better at League.
Yep, I think you nailed it. I don't think this team's making playoffs, but I think they are going to play spoiler a lot. Yeah. Right? Like you said, they are going to be a bit of a benchmark team, and I think their floor is a lot higher than I thought initially. Yeah,
and here's my headcanon for this is, at some point, Robo will retire. You've got to imagine. Like, at some point, he will just move on, and maybe after his 8th title or whatever.
Like 32, 33.
Yeah, like, at some point, old man Robo will be put out to pasture, and then my headcanon is that previous loud Academy top laner Makes will be there to step in, and they will be knocking on his door going, remember us? You know, we've still got your jersey here. It's still got your name on it if you want to maybe come and play with us for a little bit. So I think that could be nice. But I mean, there might be a lot of competition.
That was the joke. That was a joke I saw circulating on CBLOL Twitter, was like when as Makes was just bodying Wiser. It was like Wiser, like whatever he sees Makes, he doesn't see him in a Liberty jersey, he sees him in a Loud jersey, and he's like, oh god, is that Robo? And then he just shits himself.
Like the sparks come out of his ears. He's just like,
his nose starts bleeding. It's just like, guys, I think you broke Wiser.
Makes certainly broke Wiser, that's for sure. I think Makes coming out of lane, or like the laning phase, was 6-0. After like 3 kills, 2 solo kills, and a bunch of other stuff on the map.
Nuts.
Absolutely nuts.
Like say what you want about Cassante with the copy pasta, but like we've seen a lot of terrible Cassante games, and so like, you know, Cassante's a little silly. He can be an unserious, goofy little boy at times. But he has to be in the right hands. And we have also seen players go, you know, maybe not 6-0 in lane, but like 3-0, 4-0 in lane, and just not be able to translate it at all. So hats off to Makes.
Okay, let's talk about VKS, which is another interesting one. They are tied for first right now, and this was our big XD meme from the preseason with Root Dudes. VKS first by the end of the season, literally winning playoffs. Cool. So how, I guess, far along that road do you think we are? Because we've seen a lot of good from Takui. To my mind, we've also seen some bad, and I think Takui is still getting comfortable, and we need to see more there. But especially for like Desamis, who has been someone who's been hovering around and there's always been potential there, but maybe not realized. I'm wondering where you guys think about how this top side's fitting together, and if the bot lane as well is kind of matching up to expectations around this mid lane, that it's going to need to be solid to come first and for Rude's dreams to be realized.
I think we're having more synergy on the top side of the map than we're having on the bottom. Like, Predelta has been so great last season, and then now I think, I don't know, he's trying to get more acquainted with the team he's playing with, and I still think he's going to reach like a better stage and translate better, especially on roamings, because we know that Delta can do that so well to get more pressure off Tukui. But on the other side of the map, I think Tukui has been translating things really well from early game to mid game to late. Very consistent. Even when things don't go super well early game, they recover. And they look like such a good dude. You know, he looks like a great person, and that adds to me believing in them. And I would say that Giga is performing. I would say they're doing well. They're not like outperforming. Considering we're getting into week 3, I think VKS can continue to keep this growth in a very stable scale. And that would be great for them. I think they are going towards this line.
Yeah. For me, the question I would ask, if we get, at some point, we get to talk to CL, maybe not us, but like if someone from us gets to interview him or whatever, we get to talk to him at some point, we'd love to speak to him. I want to ask him, why do you think Disamis hasn't like become a top jungler yet? Like, what is the reason that he's not there? Because it always feels like
everyone loves him. Off the rip stuff, like no one shuts up about him, right? It's like, oh, this dude's a scrim god, he's a solo queue legend. Everyone has just the best things to say about him.
Yeah,
and he puts together some insane games against our best junglers, like regularly, but not always, like not enough, not as much as Aegis and Croc and
not to match the hype around him.
But he's like, there's clearly something there that no one's quite been able to unlock yet, and I just want to know what he needs, because I feel like he's so close, and I really hope that he's getting what he needs to show us that, because that for me is the most exciting part. Is like, I want Disamis to blossom into his ascended form, you know.
I would say that might be even a communication issue, considering different nationalities there, and I don't know how Disamis has been performing in regards to getting on top of calling the shots and making the shots themselves. Maybe that's what has been like a little bit iffy. Who is actually making the call? Does Disamis deserve and need to be the shot caller to actually untap that potential? And maybe that isn't the case. Maybe they're not.
Yeah, and like that this could be good for them in that sense. I think ProDelta could step into that role if needed. I think he's shown like a great sense of like team fight judgment calling and execution, and when to go in and when to go out. From the Pain season, we saw such great things from him in that regard. I think he'd be a good talent, a good place to place that responsibility. And then Gigo is just, he's so experienced now, right? He's so consistent. He's probably gonna, I think he ends up slotting into potentially a kind of Impact-esque in NA. Like, this guy is just super reliable, rock solid. You put him on any team and he does well, and he's been around for so long that he just knows how things work, you know? So
if Gigo could become the Impact of NA, he'd go down as one of the greatest Brazilian players of all time.
Yeah. So I think there is a chance for that to be the path. So yeah, we'll see if VKS can keep growing on that one. And if they can, now we need to see them challenge our top teams, because the one thing we haven't seen them really against is many of our top teams. It's been a fairly easy start.
That was the only thing I was going to add is you have lost to KaBuM, but you have beaten Los Grandes and you've beaten Los Grandes, INTZ, and Fluxo, right? You got Red. You beat Red tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
You got Pain the week after that.
We'll have words. Okay. Yeah, for sure. So we'll see how they do against the toughest that we have to throw at them, or I mean, our mid-card teams going by this scoreboard. But we'll see. We'll see how they do against those Titans coming up. At the top two now, Loud and KaBuM. Loud, our champions, they honestly feel like one of the least interesting teams, because they're basically the same as they were before. They're really good at League of Legends, and that's kind of it. Is there anything that new that anyone has to add on Loud from last week to this week? Because we've already settled on Redbird being fine. So
yeah, we sure did.
Yeah.
I think what you guys have I think what you guys have just described about Gigo as a player is what I feel about Loud as a team. Reliable, consistent, good, very good.
Just so
good. Yeah, just really knows how to adapt and translate the vision of every draft and every gameplay into how they can win. Like the win scenarios are just very clearly laid out in front of them. And to be fair, I think on top of course, the quality of every individual player, that to me is one of the biggest and most important qualities for Loud.
Yeah, I think the whole of Loud now seems to have like what feels like the Robo mindset to me, where like the game is never over. I'm never out of the game. I don't care what my scoreline says. It's not done until the Nexus explodes. And even if you push Robo out the game, he can still come back, build Hullbreaker on Gnar, and 2v1 you to win the finals. Or like the rest of like Croc can have a quiet mid game, but then he's gonna find that he's not gonna get disheartened. He's not gonna fall apart. He's gonna come back and try and find a steal to win. So I think that Loud have become very, very resilient, or maybe maintained that resilience, and they've kept it after playoffs, which is the key, I think.
Yeah, Loud, wake me up in April.
Yeah, and we'll talk. We'll see how playoffs is
just
looking.
Next.
Yeah. So, well, I'll take next, because next we can talk about KaBuM. And now I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm pretty juiced to talk about KaBuM.
No, you get to go first here. You get to go as long as you want. Before the season, you were Mr. Train. You were Mr. Ninja. Tell us about the 4-time CBLOL champions, Trajan.
Bro, dude, that last game was literally like I was like, am I asleep right now? Am I dreaming watching this game? Is this? Have I entered the Elysian Fields? That was so stunning to just watch. House on Corki, the things this man does on Corki makes like the average, the average Z player look like they're iron. You know what I mean? Like the mechanics and the impact he's having on what is supposed to be a do nothing poke after 2 items champion is crazy. And then I think even bigger than that, in that specific game versus Red, where they had a really hard comp to crack. They had this 5-man unit that is designed to just turtle up, heal themselves, move as one, which Red did, and then you just can't really break into them, and they will just be able to weather anything you do. The man takes Lucian. Some people are saying the worst champion in pro play right now, the biggest bait pick on the planet, and he takes them apart. 1v5 almost, it feels like. He's just like running over them with a bad champion. And this is Natuno now unleashing the stored up rage from a whole split on a very mid loss roster, and he's just he's cutting loose now, man, and I loved it. That game was just pure pleasure to watch and to cast, and so I just hope we don't do a Fluxo mid-season collapse. That is still on the cards with players like House there. You know, we've seen it before, but I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good about them.
I think you're right in feeling good, especially because although there is that creeping out effect, are they going to whiff? Is it just going to be a collapse at some point? You still have Malrang, and I feel like Malrang has been such a great glue to the team. And on top of what you said, Natuno was absolutely kicking on that Lucian game, being frontline, doesn't fear a single man, nobody. That was really, really pleasant to watch. And I think you guys, when you started the season, I wasn't that big of a believer. I was going like, for example, for this game, KaBuM versus Red, I was like, it's a tough choice. It's a tough choice when we're doing predictions. And then I'm like, no, I think I have had enough proof from the last 2 games that KaBuM is totally capable of pulling it off. They did, and it gets me even more convinced of why they are tied up on first place as 3 wins and 1 loss.
You guys know who Donkey is?
Yeah.
He's an old League YouTuber.
Video game Donkey,
okay. Video game Donkey. Yeah, so for those that don't know, and Soph, he's a guy who probably, like, I think a lot of his humor and a lot of his more iconic videos maybe haven't aged the best, and it's definitely stuff that, like, when you're kind of 16, you're like, this is high comedy. This is the funniest shit I've ever seen. And it's still fine. Like, it still kind of hits, but like maybe from a nostalgia place. He has this video where it's just jump cuts of him playing League. You know, he's like, Olaf is the best champ in the game, man. I'm gonna tell you what. I go into I play into this Irelia, and she hits me with a double E stun. You can't stun me, and then he dies, and it's like it jumps cuts in the middle of a sentence. He's like, so Irelia is the best champ in the game because see what you can do is you can get when you stack up all your coup procs, and he gets like hit by an Ornn. Ornn is the best champ in the game, guys. And that felt
Peak
like
comedy.
what this Senna Seraphine, or in this case Senna Hui, I got the matches pulled up here. So Los Grandes played the Senna Hui right into Red, and Red finally beat them, right? Just choked them out. And then Red saw that, and the next game they were like, that was so annoying to play against. Brunsey, you play AD, yeah, you play AD carry, right? Wait, no, you're playing Seraphine. It's like, shit, no.
God damn it.
And then they got blasted. But it's like you said, and then here comes KaBuM, right? And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Grevthar. He's going to play Corki the next game.
Yeah.
Because what they saw was exactly what you said, Trajan, right? You like the packages around the team fights, because that's exactly what you got to do, right? That's why, like, on these, like, okay, in these late game fights, right, where you're just fighting around objectives, every 5 minutes you get a package, a dragon comes up, I'm going to make your life miserable, right? Because that was the thing. When Los Grandes, the reason they were grinding that game out was they were fighting in choke points. They just fought backwards so well. Red could not pierce them, right? Then KaBuM said, now, to be fair, Red also were playing Corki, but they're playing actually almost the exact same team comp. Udyr, Lee Sin, Corki was the same, and then Lucian Milio and Nila Senna. Yeah. But I digress. But what House did, right, like you said, he just like, okay, I can't go through, so I'm going to go over. And he just ooga booga and just like bam, 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 rocket. Like it was mind-numbing. It was awesome. It was so cool.
Yeah, the carries on the front line vibe from that game for KaBuM was so good, and they weren't getting caught. Yeah. They were like, if I make a wrong move, I am going to get punished and lose and die. But they just didn't do anything wrong. So it became unplayable against, because they're like doing so much damage to you, and you just can't catch them. So loved what we saw from KaBuM. Hopefully we get to see some more of it for a whole split, maybe even some playoffs. That would be nice. But now let's take a look at something a little bit more specific. We're calling all the teams, folks, and we have some specific questions to go over before we wrap up here. So the first one I have to pose is blue side supremacy over now? Because we went 10-0 for blue side in week 1. We were 14-1 for blue side after day 3, and I believe we are still 17-3.
Correct.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
We still have the highest blue side win rate of any region. I had a quick scan of the other pro regions, and you know, LPL is 55%. LCK, I think, is actually red side focused. It's red side 55%, and LEC is 50%, basically 51, 50, and we are 85% blue. So, do we think this is, because now we even had the schedule flip to where it wasn't just all the strong teams on blue, and then Pain lost, and Red lost, and Loud almost lost. So what is going on? What have we done? I feel like we've broken something in like the fabric of the universe.
It's true. I to be fair, having a look at the matches, what I felt is Brazil has been adapting in a very specific way to the terrain changes and how much you can have access from blue side into red side, especially going onto dives. I've seen so many attempts on dives going super well, sometimes not as good. Usually when the red team wins, which was 3 times, let's recap that, only 3 times, is when they can actually survive that dive, and it's maybe too aggressive. But the junglers have been very successfully attempting to get the presence on bottom side through blue side, having as well your position going on to, of course, not having to go through blast going over the wall to get into the pit. I think there's a big difference on the pathways, especially for the jungle, for the blue side, that Brazil has been just so easily able to navigate. And when they get to red side, they're like, so we're gonna focus Drake, and that's it. You know, they do Drake. That has been like a very big constant, and I hope the teams get to understand more how to better navigate these differences. You don't have to be blue side to focus on Void Grubs. You don't have to be red side to focus on Drake. It has to be a different strategy and adaptability that goes from game to game, from draft to draft, and from playstyle to playstyle. That I don't think has been happening that much. I think Loud gets that going well because they're always just super consistent. I feel like VKS played it well. KaBuM is also playing it well, hence why they're top of the league. But it's not all throughout the league. That's why we have 85% blue side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Nothing really to add here. I think it is just some sort of like it is. I think all the points that Soph made are valid and are true. Like I think Brazil has taken a very specific adaptation to things. I think we will continue to. Yeah. I do not expect this. I was right yesterday or last podcast when I was like, all right, when's the blue side dominance going to end? I said, I think it ends game 1, guys. Fluxo, KaBuM. What are we doing? Yeah. And sure enough, they smacked them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think it's a little bit of a just some statistical quirks, some early season CBLOL being CBLOL.
Sure.
And we're good at learning new champs now, but we're not so good at learning new maps yet. So we'll have to. We've gotten
that's my start right there.
We'll get back to you on that.
But items and terrain, we're working on it. Okay, we'll take it one step at a time. You know, maybe by the end of this year we'll know what we're doing. So. The blue side dominance has continued. From a quick scan of the rest of the matches, I kind of think it's going to even out. We have a relatively even split of, I would say, favorites from left to right from week 3, so we should hopefully see that average start to smooth out. But we shall see, and of course, you know, we'll keep tracking the curse as long as it sticks around here in the CBLOL. Now, the next question to quickly talk about here, for KaBuM is the way this has been phrased on the run of show is from last split to top 4 consistent. The question is, how are they doing it? An easy answer is they spent loads of money because they had loads of, they got Malrang and House and Natuno and Sales and blah, blah, blah. So I guess the maybe the more interesting question is pulling together all of these elements to actually succeed, because once again, super teams are a big meme and they're a really bad idea almost every single time. So I wonder if you guys have any thoughts about the way that KaBuM has pulled this team together, the way it plays, and I guess why you think this one seems to make sense, whereas other, just like we've dropped a ton of cash on this team, doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, I do think that. Yeah, I don't really know if I have an answer for you. I think, I don't know, maybe I just kind of missed some of the offseason. I think there was like sort of a, oh, this is super KaBuM, but I feel like the oh, this is a super team wasn't really beat into our heads quite as much. Whereas like I think a super team often like, I don't know, like let's say, okay, remember like Super FURIA, right? That was created from those Flamengo rosters that just dumpstered people in the regular season and then flopped in playoffs. Right, you took just all the core of that, and then you put this guy in FNB in the top lane, where the meme was always, oh, this is FNB and the super minions, right? Where it's like, okay, let's take clearly the strongest parts of every team and stitch them together. And I'm not saying they haven't done that here, right? Because House, he's a high-level mid laner until the playoffs. Lonely at times was, you know, he performed one of the better top laners
on that KaBuM 10th place roster. He was probably the best piece, right? Like,
oh, 100%, yeah. And so, but I guess maybe because of the lonely piece, maybe because you didn't, okay, I don't know, Malrang, how well is he going to adjust, right? Is he over the hill? But I do think the financial aspect of it cannot be questioned. The amount of money, think about it. You had to pull Seos out of 3 straight titles, right? And away from just the winning formula, the most dominant winning formula we have seen in Brazil. No one had ever won 3 straight titles in this league, right? We've got multiple teams with 3, 4, and 5 titles. No one had done it 3 times in a row. Natuno, you had to convince him to stay and buy into your project, right? You had to get House from Fluxo. That could not have been cheap because Fluxo themselves spent a butt ton of money. That's a technical term for those of you keeping score at home. Lonely, I don't know. Maybe they just, I actually don't know what Lonely's contract situation was. So maybe they just kept him and it was like, okay, fine. I don't know how much
I'm having a good time. Yeah, I'm hanging out. Like,
yeah, he's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, you're bringing in here. You're bringing in Malrang, House, Sales. Yeah, I can stick around. No worries.
Yeah, I can chill.
Oh, you're bringing in Malrang? Great, right?
I can hang with these guys. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, I think also, I don't know how to put this into words because I've been thinking about this question. Right? Why is this working so well? It's a little. I literally don't. I'm going to say things that don't really make sense, but I'm just going to word vomit for about 30 seconds, and then we can move on.
Do it.
Malrang, I feel like the way he plays is very just like if you could design. If there was an AI practice tool in League of Legends, which honestly I think we're probably about a couple years away from, if I'm being honest, that was just like, all right, I want to play with a ganking jungler, and set all his sliders to 10, right? just to be like, okay. If someone lands a Lee Sin Q, right, how do I follow up, right? I want to play, you know, like Malrang, it seems like he just kind of goes and everyone else is good enough to just follow up on it because that's always how Malrang has been, right? He's just go, go, go. He's like River in the LCS. He's just it's run with me or run from me, right? If you're in front of me, get the F out of my way. I'm like a freight train, right? That has just like done millions of lines of you know what, and I'm going full steam ahead, right? And everyone just kind of knows, like, okay, we're going in. And that's kind of just the MO. The MO is really simple with this team. Yeah. Mulrain goes, you follow. And everyone hands-wise is good enough to do that, right? So I think they're not overcomplicating things. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. I'm on the same page. Yeah, I think the word vomit was great. It wasn't vomit at all.
True facts being spit, in fact. I think that the fact that people were worried that Malrang would get figured out or that it wouldn't carry over, that certainly doesn't seem to have been the case. And he's still performing late as well as early ganking as well. So yeah, I think that piece that was maybe the most boom or bust piece has boomed in a big way. So it's just kind of, they found the formula and hopefully they can continue that one. So we are going to skip forward to something that I just want to quickly highlight. We have a discussion to have here. We want to talk about the best play of this weekend, right? And when we were talking beforehand, we were thinking, okay, like, let's all bring a play, let's think about it. But then after a while, we were just like, well, there's only two actual candidates here. There's two massive moments that I think we're probably just going to be deciding between. So 404, why don't you tell us about either of them? And then Sophchan, you could tell us about the other. And then we'll decide which one we think is actually number one, because they were both pretty big.
I mean, I'll give I'll bury the lead here a little bit for engagement and retention. SuperCleber, another phenomenal. Right? I mean, a guy who, like Soph said, was like, look, I mean, not quite like you said this about Liberty, but I think SuperCleber kind of has this like niche C-list CBLOL celebrity status of like, look at this dude, like he's coming up from Academy. SuperCleber's finally gonna do the damn thing. Yeah, and he did. Right? He got the most busted pick in the patch, and he got a pentakill with it. Hats off, right? He played all the fights really, really well. Uses overheat well as I think he did. I have played Rumble 0 times in my life. From what I know about that champion, it's very little. It seems like he played it really, really well. And you can't just really can you dumb luck your way into a pentakill? I don't think you can. But he definitely didn't do that. That whole game from Los Grandes, just a part of their resurgence, right? No, nothing but positive things to say about him.
Yeah, like that whole play, like it starts with him like playing footsies with INTZ and catching him out on the Rumble and then just burning like 80% of his HP bar before anything's even happened, and he's only in that position because of how hard he smashed the lane, which cannot be disregarded, right? So yeah, I think SuperCleber with the penta. I think it was our first penta of the split, and it's been a while since I had a penta that wasn't on AD carry, so that's pretty hype as well. And a top laner no less, not just a mid laner, not just a carry jungler, a top laner picking it up. Is pretty big. So Sophchan, tell us about the other contender for best play.
Yeah, and we're not leaving top lane. We are definitely not leaving top lane. We're staying, especially on Liberty. We talked about like the team in a more general way, but then Makes in the top lane was definitely one of those players coming out from Academy that really gives, at least to me, a feeling like Prodelta did. When you have a player coming out so fresh and so really eager to get into the gameplay, this is high level, and I am going to deliver tier 1 high level. I think this really pushed the player into greater heights, and having that win basically be so, I'm not going to say comfortable, but be so well executed because Makes was having such a big impact against Wiser on Pain, getting Liberty a win over the runner-ups. Man, that was insane. So Makes really showing us how, as we mentioned, having a team like Liberty with Turtle, with Belzy as coaches, really can get a new, I'm not going to say amateur, but a recently like upcoming talent into a more seasoned state in no time. And they are really getting Liberty into that place. I know that we are still considering the other teams, and should Liberty get closer to playoffs? Should they even get into playoffs? But they beat Pain in a very, very consistent way. It was a clutch, close game. It wasn't a stomp, and they managed to really catch up. Although the only lane that was actually winning galore was Makes, right?
He was winning a lot. It was like I don't know what he ended on. I think he was on double digits kills, 1 death, you know, and it was just like this triple kill around the mid lane when Liberty have lost the fight. Like, they've lost 2 key carries, Titan's going wild, he's pushing into the base, and then makes just kind of the camera slowly pans over back to the mid lane.
Yeah, no, yeah, I saw that, I was like, here we go, Pain's gonna win, they're gonna mop it up,
it's
and then
over,
it's just
Pain's
like,
won, yeah.
Hang on,
what?
Hold up.
Is that Makes?
Yeah, zoom, enhance. yeah, literally. And then he gets 1, and he gets 2, and like, no shot, he gets 3 kills, walks away, and leaves the door open for Pilot to take Dragon and stabilize. Like, my word. Just in terms of a single player link, in terms of a turning point.
Yeah.
That was just insane. He only got 3 kills though, so I don't know. Like, you know, that's not only 60% of the death feed. But if we had to pick one, a SuperCleber pentakill with Rumble, a top lane pentakill coming through, or a pivotal triple kill from Makes at that stage in the game, which do you think we would have as our number 1 play?
I would easily go. Oh, go on.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say it was Makes, and
yeah, I would easily go for Makes. Yeah, I think it's just much more important to have something that critically changes the outcome of it into victory than just a multiple kill streak. That, of course, was important and necessary, but Makes was just really the key segment to guarantee not just the solo kills, the teamfight kills, coming back after they lost Baron into actually winning the game is huge.
Big for Makes. I think I agree. I think that is a well-reasoned argument. So we can say that Makes owns that best play of the week. I didn't check all of the cards. Exactly. Thank you for the air horns. I think he was Ilya Daslendas' like #1 rated player on their player cards that they do after each week. I think it's certainly the highest rated top laner. But I think he might have been the highest of all of them, and well-deserved. A huge, very bright career ahead of this guy for sure. So the last thing that we're going to do quickly here is we're going to answer some questions from the community, from the viewers. We get these questions through from our community Discord, which you can all join. There will be links to all of our socials and the Discord wherever this video is, either on Spotify or podcast platforms or YouTube, wherever you'll be able to find it without too much trouble. So let's go through these questions relatively quickly, guys, because we have spent a lot of time talking about the CBLOL, as much as we love to do that. I'm just going to pull the question list up right now. So the first one from Arashi, which we all know very well, is they want to know everyone's opinions on what team has looked the best so far. I know it's kind of hard since no one really popped off yet. This might have been before the KaBuM game, especially given that everyone is literally tied and still some teams perform better than others. So does anyone think a team looks better than KaBuM, I guess, to shape this answer down quickly? Does anyone think that KaBuM is still kind of flash in the pan, or do you think we're just like, we're on the train?
I think Loud's still better.
Sure, that's fair.
Same. Yeah, I don't think KaBuM was flash in the pan, but it's still Loud, man.
Like you so consistent.
Just loud.
Robo had an early season Robo game and they lost to Pain. Again, wake me up in April, man. Like, wake me up in a 5-game playoff. Like,
yeah. So I guess Pain, they broke their final streak at least, and they're able to get those regular season wins. But yes, we will. I think it's probably still fair to say Loud. So I think we can say, Loud's probably still the best team. KaBuM are very, very exciting, and the others have some work to do, but those are probably our top 2 with Loud inching them out because it's just Loud, in a phrase.
It's so much.
From FCZ, what team surprised you guys the most so far, and what team disappointed? Now, for me, the most surprising team was actually Los Grandes. I think they're the biggest upswing. I don't know if you guys would agree or have a different team that surprised you the most.
I agree with you.
I'm with you, but I would give credit to Liberty as well.
Yeah, I think for sure. The Pain win specifically is just such a big ticket like scalp that they have now. That they go, look who we beat last week. Don't mess with us. So yeah, I think there's definitely a good argument for Liberty. Los Grandes, I think, surprised me the best so far in terms of how well they've done. We talked about that earlier. Any team that's massively disappointed compared to where you thought? I honestly, for me, I don't think any of them have actually negatively underperformed from where I thought. So I probably wouldn't give anyone.
What about massively?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say massively. Yeah.
I think just because I expected a little more out of them, I'd say INTZ. so far. But if I had to give it to anybody, but I don't know, maybe Red. But even then, like their loss, draft diff. FNB got caught out late. Yeah, twice.
I think maybe FURIA actually. I think I'd maybe give it to them. Like once again, it's not a serious difference. But that's probably the biggest difference. I think just because I expected them to come a little hotter, and I think like the parts I expected to be solid have been less solid, mainly like Tuts, as I said earlier. Like I haven't loved that, and they're taking a while to gel. So maybe FURIA would be my answer. Sophchan, I don't know if you have either of those picked or a different one.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I go more towards the INTZ.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. I think they have very great weapons, and they're really not utilizing them as great as they should have.
Like they're not cocked. The magazine's they're forgotten to.
No, they haven't sharpened the weapons. No,
they're rusty. They're not looking good. So we'll see if they can clean them up and get
very
them
dull.
Yeah, very dull weapons. So yeah, potentially FURIA, maybe INTZ there for team disappointment. Bren, our community manager, throw one in. If you had to build a CBLOL all-star team right now, which 5 players are Now we have to keep this short. Okay, we have to keep this quick fire, like top of your off the dome 404.
Oh boy.
I can Sophchan, it sounds like you're ready to go. So I'm gonna get
let her cook.
Jungle. You started now, you can't stop.
Okay, hold on. I would say Carioca.
Mid's hard, isn't it?
Just for some flavor, because I think it's a very good upcoming talent. I would say Robô, Carioca, Tukui.
Sure.
Root and Cells.
I love reuniting Root and Sales. I feel that. Okay, 404.
All right, I'm gonna take this to mean literally, like, if I knew nothing else about these players and the only thing I have seen, the only professional League of Legends they have ever played is these 2 weeks.
This split right now, current form.
Oh, okay.
I
think that changes a lot.
Yeah, you can take current interpretation.
That's how I'm gonna take it. Because honestly, if it was just like, who do I think are the 5 best players right now, I'd reunite the Loud lineup from last split.
Yeah, if you're like an all-star team as well, like there's arguments for like OG INTZ players, right? And like there's if you use a lot of historical data, but from right now, if you're gonna take it from today, this second, who's your 5?
Yep. Okay. So if it's based on past performances as well, swap Redbird and Seos. Those are the 5 best players in CBLOL still for my money. But if we're talking just based on these 2 weeks, give me Makes.
Oh, he's cooking.
Give me Croc. Give me Makes. Give me Croc. Give me Tukui. I like that shout. I like Tukui. And then give me Root and KaBuM. Give me an all Korean bottom lane.
KaBuM, nice.
Oh,
I like that.
Spicy.
Have we ever done that? It seems like we don't do that in the CBLOL that much. Like a Korean duo.
Oh, Korean. I'm actually trying to think. I don't think we have. No, because there's too much good ADC talent here.
Yeah, we never need like a Korean ADC.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me, it would be Wiser top, Aegis jungle, Tinone's mid. I would love to say House, but I just can't if I'm being a serious person. It's Tinone's mid, and then I probably would have said Bronze in the off season, but I don't know if I would anymore. If I take
Seraphine.
If I take it a bit more current, if I try and find a middle ground between history and current, maybe if I'm not gonna have Spice in the mid lane, I'll take Ninja Kiwi in bot lane, and then Sales in support. I have to take the goat support, for support. So that would be mine. Okay, and then the last question before we wrap up is one from Axeman that we have an extra one here, which I think is where was it? It was like, is Liberty a playoffs team? Something of this nature. Yeah, is Liberty a playoffs contender? Now, I think we had like a tentative yes from you earlier, 404, but I guess how deep do you think this is going? Because like we have a lot of playoffs contenders now that we didn't expect to have when we started this split.
That's the thing. We did our week 1 overreactions last week on the podcast, and RMC had the most base take, is that like this split looks like it's going to be the most balanced, and especially through 2 weeks. Teams will start to stratify. You will get, the soup will start to congeal, etc. But for right now, it really seems like we're going to have, like, I think they are for sure a playoffs contender. Yes, because in a league where the majority of teams make it, they are a contender. I still, if you had, put the Nerf gun to my head, they're not making playoffs. Could they? 100%. Wouldn't surprise me. It would surprise me. It wouldn't shock me. There we go.
Yeah. Sure. So, confident? Not confident?
I'm on the same boat. I think I'm confident. Yeah, I would even say like if they do get to playoffs, easy 6, maybe 5th going into playoffs. 6, I don't think they get above. No. Yeah, I don't think they get above 5th.
I don't think we crack any of those top 4. No.
If Liberty finishes above 5th, I'll buy a jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's all do it.
Yeah, we'll all get Liberty jerseys.
If Liberty finishes 5th, they don't have to finish above 5th. If they finish above 6th, they finish the top half of the table. Yeah, I will buy a Liberty jersey.
Okay, everyone, clip it. Remember that when the dream run begins and that first playoffs matchup that's like Liberty versus Lost or something, we will all be pulling for Liberty so that 404 can get his jersey. Okay, for me, I'm gonna take a solid stance. I'm gonna say no, because I think that FURIA and Lost still have a lot of ceiling to show us. All of the other ones, I'm pretty confident in. There's a chance that VKS actually falls apart in my head. It's not high likelihood, but I have this niggling doubt that like it might end up not like stalling out and kind of fall into bits. I don't know why. It's just like a worry in my head. I really hope it doesn't. But I think Liberty are going to end up like definitely 7th or 8th, 9th. And I think that that playoffs bracket is just too solid now. They're too good. There's no room left at the end for Liberty, sadly. Which will be quite tragic, honestly, because I think they are going to give us a much better showing than last time. So I'm going to say no. Yeah. But we'll see if Axeman, who will probably vote Liberty every time because I think that's his prediction strategy, is to just vote the contrarian option.
Yes.
And we'll see how often that pays off. So that's us. That's all for this episode of Gringos Liberados. Thank you, everyone, for watching. As we said before, check all the descriptions for socials links and follow us. Join into the community Discord, and we will have plenty more content coming your way and games to cast this Saturday and Sunday at the usual time. So have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, rest of your day, and we'll hopefully see you on the weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.